I just got back from Pokemon Company International, and they asked me what my biggest wish was for Generation 10. I asked for it to not be $80. And then they told me if I said anything like that again, they would grind my bones to dust. Hey, what's good, Joe? Soul here, and welcome back to the story mode. So, at the time of this recording, we are just over 2 weeks out from our official 30th anniversary Pokemon Day Presents. So you're probably sitting there thinking, Soul, why in the hell are you doing this so early? We still have a lot of time before that presents, but you gotta understand, it takes me a good second to get some of these videos out. That's why it takes so long. But the primary reason is because I actually wanted to do a big response video beforehand. By the time this video crops up for you, there will already be a community post ready for you guys to respond to. Generally speaking, it's gonna ask for your hopes, your fears, your wishes, everything in between. Tell me everything you guys are anticipating for this Pokemon Day Presents. And always remember that I will be asking the exact same question in our Discord server, and Discord responses do get priority. So if you want to get priority on your responses, make sure to go over there and respond. That all being said though, I wanted to give my final hopes and wishes in regards to what the perfect 30th anniversary Pokemon Day Presents would look like for me personally. But maybe you'll disagree with me. Let's find out. Why don't you go ahead, grab a seat, grab a nice drink, beat ice into oblivion, stomp on it and let it know its place, and grab a hot dog and stir it up with some cheese, chocolate, and strawberries while we talk about what the perfect Pokemon Day Presents could look like this year. Also, don't usually do this, but if you guys could like and hype the video, I would greatly appreciate it. Firstly, there's a couple of shadow drops that need to happen frame 1. We have known about Pokemon XD Gale of Darkness and Colosseum coming to Switch 2 for ages now. At first, a lot of us found it kind of weird that they didn't release that within the first couple months of the Switch 2, but then we figured, okay, well, major Pokemon year next year, they're probably saving it for that because they need to drop everything they have that next year. So, fine, whatever, makes sense. Obviously though, considering how old these games are, I don't think that there's any reason to withhold them any longer than that initial day. Like, that can easily just be the Shadow Drop day. Like, yep, they're available right now. After this presents, go ahead and play. That makes plenty of sense. There's no reason to get a release date for that in like April or June or something crazy. So no, those both need to be frame 1 Shadow Drops. Next along, this one might sound a little crazy, but I feel like there would be no better time to announce Generations 1, 2, and 3 all available on NSO right then and there. As a matter of fact, that can be the opener for the present. What better way to kickstart the Pokemon 30th anniversary year than with the first 3 generations of Pokemon available to play that day? And when I say Generations 1 to 3, I actually do mean the original Red and Blue, the original Gold and Silver, the original Crystal, the original Pokemon Yellow, Pokemon Fire Red and Leaf Green, Pokemon Ruby and Sapphire, and Pokemon Emerald. All of them. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but those have to be the most emulated games of all time at this point, right? And to be fair, people have been asking for legal and reasonable ways to get these games for decades now. And when we saw that Game Boy Advance games were going to be available on NSO, we figured that pretty much all of the original games on Game Boy were going to be a shoe-in for sure during the Switch era. And here we are with the Switch 2, and for some reason that still hasn't happened yet. So, for one of the biggest anniversaries of the entirety of the franchise, I think it makes more than enough sense to just drop all of the games that kick the games off super heavily in the West to begin with. So I mean, granted, you could probably space out all of these different releases throughout different times during the year, but I don't really think there's a point to that unless you're planning to release every single generation of Pokemon from Game Boy all the way up to 3DS. Which, honestly, I think now is a good time to do. I don't think there could be a better way to announce that DS games are coming to NSO inevitably than with a Pokemon Presents, right? Because if you owned a DS between 2007 and 2012, there's no way in hell you didn't have at least one copy of one of the 9 major games that released on that system in terms of Pokemon. Hell, as a matter of fact, if you were born in the 2000s, like mid to late, that's probably where you kickstarted your journey. I'm definitely not exaggerating you when I tell you that most of the Pokemon games available on DS are within the top 10 highest selling games on that console. So no, I don't think it would be ridiculous at all to throw in the hopes and possibilities for Pokemon games on DS on NSO. And I don't think much needs to be said in the case of 3DS games, considering the fact that, yeah, those games ran the 3DS era. There's no doubt about it. There have already been a million questions as to how this could even work with the double screen and the touchscreen situation, and in all honesty, I could see this working pretty much how it worked on the Wii U, but now utilizing mouse controls if we want to touch the bottom screen. If we were able to make it work on the Wii U of all things, the Switch 2 outclasses it in every way. It definitely has enough power to run those games and make them work in some way, shape, or form. Now here's the thing, they would kind of have to pick a lane with a situation like that. Either they only release generations 1, 2, 3 on NSO and that would be available off rip, or they tease that the DS games are also going to be coming sometime within the year, and that will probably inevitably lead to 3DS coming like either later this year or possibly early next year, and therefore we would have a steady release of all of the games available eventually on NSO. I think from a business standpoint, the latter would be a much more effective move, considering the fact that they want to keep us Pokemon brained for the entirety of this year. Why not have a steady re-release situation going with all of the previous Pokemon games so that we're always thinking about Pokemon all the way up until the Generation 10 release? I think I'd be okay with that. I feel like most people would be okay with that, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. I just think that would be preferable. So at the very least, we know we're getting all of the games at some point so that we can finally have actual access to these games. Because generations 1 through 3, while that would be cool as like a major shadow drop release on day 1, I feel like it would be kind of a bummer to just get those 3 specifically because those are the easiest games to port over and then not get pretty much anything else. That would kind of suck. I would have to imagine they want to give us as much Pokemon as humanly possible this year, and I really do think that this plot right here would be the best way of going about that, but I don't know. I could be wrong on that one. And while we're still in port territory, I think it's more than time to give us a couple of more ports of the spin-off titles. As of right now, I really don't think that there is any reason as to why we haven't seen any remakes or ports for Pokemon Mystery Dungeon, Explorers of Time, Darkness, and Sky. Easily, by and far, some of the most beloved spin-offs in the entirety of the series. We figured after Mystery Dungeon DX, those games were an absolute shoo-in. There was no way they weren't next on the remake list. But instead, we got new Pokemon Snap and Detective Pikachu Returns. Not complaining about either of these things, they were definitely both desired to some degree. But after those games being so few and far between, we were starting to wonder what the hell was happening to spin-offs in general with this franchise. But what they don't really understand is that they don't really need to remake those games. Just make them available on NSO. We can absolutely be perfectly okay with those games being available as they are. There's nothing wrong with them. Hell, if you really don't want to go out of your way to port all 3, we just really need Explorers of Sky. And you already know what I'm going to say next. Give us the Pokemon Ranger games back, for shink's sake. What are we doing? Nintendo gave us an entire new function to play with the Joy-Con mouse controls. I have not touched that feature even one time. I haven't even tried it out. I've had no excuse to use it yet because I'm not buying drag and drop. I was not paying money for that, so let's be so for real with ourselves. If there is any time to make it so that this function is actually worth something, it's for DS ports. And one of the best DS ports I can think to use this on would be Pokemon Rangers. Granted, we should probably have another means of playing that game as well, because I feel like we might actually destroy the Joy-Cons if we were to circle that fast, that hard. But like, you see my vision. I still think they could find a way to make it work. Otherwise, yeah, let's bring some of those back. The 3DS ports are optional, because I know people are very mixed about the 3DS Mystery Dungeon games. Future Soul popping in for a second because he almost forgot one of his favorite spin-offs in the entirety of the franchise. Give me back Pokepark, you demons. I'm already annoyed enough at the prospect that Pokepark as a series is essentially dead because that name is being utilized for theme parks in Japan that I don't even know if I'll ever be able to get to. I gotta live with that, whatever. But the one thing you can do at the very least is port those games over. They would be the easiest thing to bring over to the Switch too. Oh my god, give it to me before I Rasengan blow a hole through Pokemon Company International. It is actually that serious. Now, as greedy as all of that sounds, none of that was nearly as greedy as my next request, which is another spin-off potentially for this year. We already know that they're probably going to talk a little bit about Pokopia, which releases just a couple of days after the presents on March 5th. And then after that, as far as we're aware, the only other major thing we have to look forward to, most likely in the middle of the year, is going to have to be Pokemon Champions. Now, as I've said, when it comes to Pokopia, I'm very happy that we're getting another major spin-off game at all. I'm very glad that they decided to go the creative route and let Koei Tecmo just have fun making this Dragon Quest Builders / Animal Crossing style Pokemon game. This is really cool. I love the concept. A tad pricey, and the game key card situation doesn't really look all that pretty, but I'm at least glad that it exists. However, as I've stated, I am not the craziest about games like this one. Life sim games are cool and all, but I'm usually more drawn to and attached to action games or something within that realm, you know? To help fill out the year even more, I could definitely see a situation in which they secretly hired another team to potentially make another spin-off. Maybe Bandai's been cooking up Pokken Tournament 2, I highly doubt it, but never say never, you know what I'm saying? And of course, time and time again now, you guys have heard me constantly wish aloud for the possibility of a Pokemon Warriors game. That one, 48,000% is not happening because here's the thing, Koei Tecmo has developed pretty much every single Warriors game ever, I think. Do they have like a license over that? Why? But anyway, not only is Koei Tecmo responsible for Pokopia, they're also responsible for the very recently released Hyrule Warriors Age of Imprisonment. So it seems that dream is probably not coming anytime soon. However, I'd also be very much okay with another new Mystery Dungeon game, or even a remake of one, or even a remake or new entry in the Pokemon Ranger series. Surely somebody is out there that they could have worked with to do this. I don't know, somebody, man. Maybe I'm just an old head when I say this, but I kind of miss the days when we had a lot more options when it came to our spin-off titles, because they had those releasing like all the time. And don't get it twisted, I fully understand that game development is not that quick like that anymore, and they need a lot more time and effort and money to make said games. But, I mean, this is Pokemon Company. Surely they would have planned ahead a little bit when it comes to what they would want to release this upcoming year, their 30th anniversary. I don't think it's crazy to imagine they might have done something like that. But like I said, of all of my hopes, wishes, and expectations, this one I would expect the least. Like, there's no way in hell they actually did another separate major spin-off title for this year. That would be kind of ridiculous, but I'd welcome it. After that, this one's a little more unorthodox, but I want a movie. I want an actual Pokemon movie this year. I enjoy Ash and I enjoy Liko and Roy as main characters and stuff like that, but I think we are definitely within the realm of just utilizing completely original characters for movies and telling stories in a much more unique way than we ever have before. And you could tell, like, they're kind of branching into that in different ways, what with like the miniseries like Paldean Winds, or even more recent Pokemon movies where Ash was still the main character, but we had like all of those different characters in The Power of Us and stuff like that. And now we're following completely brand new characters in the Pokemon anime that's ongoing. I think we're well past the point where we need to have the anime characters be the main characters in a movie that's going to be non-canon to the anime. Why not just have like little movies that could or could not be canon? It doesn't matter, because it follows completely separate casts of characters with different events. Cause that's crazy that we're about to hit Generation 10 and we haven't had a movie for Generation 9. That's weird, right? At least Generation 10 had the Zarude movie, but you know, it wasn't great, but it was something. So yeah, give us a movie. Give us a well-animated movie to put in theaters for us to enjoy. I think that would be really sick. And lastly, I have two very specific wishes in regards to Generation 10. Both of them may seem a little out there, but I'm gonna throw them out there anyway. Firstly, I hope Generation 10 looks really good and really pretty. I really just hope they have found a way to stylize the models of the characters in the Pokemon even more, make them more fleshed out, make them look really good. But most importantly, I need those environments to look the best they have ever looked in a 3D Pokemon game. If they're really putting down 30 million on that budget, I want it to show at least a little bit in what we're looking at graphically speaking. And if it's all stylized properly, maybe it'll look at least a little modern. That's all I ask for. And lastly, this one's not going to be talked about in the presents in of itself, but I'm still going to wish for this anyway. Please don't make it $80. Please. That game could be the best graphical piece of media I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm sorry, Pokemon has not earned the right to push the $80 agenda. It just simply has not. You guys have the absolute easiest way to make yourselves look good right now, and it's to not charge that extra $10 out of people. I'm telling you right now, it is genuinely that easy. Because I'm telling you right now, if it costs $160 total to get both versions of the game, y'all are gonna look like actual genuine villains. More so than you already do, which is already bad. But you know what's tragic? Everything that I've probably mentioned on this list, that wish is easily the most ridiculous because it's going to be $80 and there's nothing anybody can do to stop them. At the very least, I pray they cooked heavy as hell to justify even over $60 because yeah, this is gonna be a really argumentative Pokemon year. 1000%. Now, I actually did have it listed here that I kind of would love it if they actually just revealed Generation 10 and didn't actually release it this year, but I feel like that'd be even more ridiculous than the $80 wish because yeah, no, it's coming out this year. They have to. There's genuinely no choice for whatever reason. But it is what it is. All we can do is hope and pray that whatever faction of Game Freak worked on this game cooked heavy as hell. But hey, you know what? Maybe that's just me. So that just about wraps it up for this one. Hopefully Pokemon Day is good, it's reasonable, it makes most people happy, but something tells me there's going to be an underlying announcement or something, whether it's in the inevitable direct itself or afterwards, that's going to piss everybody off. There's just always something, and it's pretty much inevitable, right? So we'll just have to see what happens. Hopefully they reveal some really cool stuff, you know what I'm saying? Something I didn't mention, I'd love a manga, you know what I'm saying? I'd love more manga announcements here, you know what I'm saying? I don't know, maybe that'd be too much. Who knows? But regardless, I'm passing the mic over to you guys, and I want you guys to tell me everything that you're thinking in the comment section below. Do you agree that my wishes here would be really cool? They would help out a lot in making this Pokemon Presents a lot more interesting for you? You think it'd be really cool to have these announcements and that would make the day for you? Or are you on the opposing side? You don't want anything that I've mentioned here and you were hoping for an entirely different set of things for them to be announcing this upcoming Pokemon Day? Tell me everything that you guys are thinking in the comment section below, because you know for a fact that I'm always going to be down there with you guys. But with that, it does appear to be skedaddle o'clock, so I'm going to go ahead and do just so. I'd like to thank you guys ever so much for watching. I truly do hope you enjoyed. Do me the greatest favor of dropping a like and a comment, and consider subscribing for more content just like this here. And with that, I'm gone. So thanks again, hope you enjoyed, and I'll be seeing you guys in the next video. Do me the greatest favor, taking good ass care, and I'll see you all next time. Bye!